is respecting the hell out of my origin lines. I mean, hell, even more in Bitcoin, which is kind of weird. Usually altcoins, they don't respect it quite as perfectly as Bitcoin does because they have less price history. But man, Flux is just, surely following these lines, and you won't find these lines anywhere else on the internet. Okay, so I'm really zoomed in. You can only see one origin line. And on my channel, we're thinking it was going to hit this and come up, right? So it nailed this bottom pretty damn well. It's behaving a little bit differently with this one. However, in general, I think it mostly used this as support. Like on the tiny, tiny candles, every time it approached this, it generally just got above. So this does have permission to go touch this neck. I mean, hell, it has technically origin line rules. It has permission to be bottomed here. It could. That is one of the valid options because of the way it behaved at this line, right? The analogy of the 18-month-old and ice cream. The probabilities of that kid getting ice cream at that fair depends at any moment in time how he's behaving. It behaved very well at this line. Even though it did go below, it behaved exceptionally well. So, however, the probability of it coming up to the next origin line is improbable until you at least get in this range here. I think this is the range where you're getting close to 50-50, and once price can get above this line, that's where, you know, the probabilities flip in favor of it's going to charge up towards this next origin line. Does that make sense? But not until these exact moments. So these are the triggers for this line, origin line, being a target for a big move from the top line to there, a 17% move. But that's not going to happen until this is triggered, right? So another option for this to behave, it can't go sideways for too long. Honestly, Flux is going to have to make up its mind unless it gets a fake out. So through the first 2 weeks of December, so what I'm about to say, the shelf life of this is a month. I honestly think this is setting up to do a fake out. It doesn't have to be a fake out up and then it slams down, but so this triangle, it's got to make up its mind at this 50-50 zone with the origin line. It can't just go sideways through here. That's not the way price moves, and it will not move that way. It will not. But it has to make up its mind a good 10 days before Bitcoin has to, and stock market. So just realize that even though this is a trigger which allows this to be in play, if it happens kind of late, the later in this triangle, so the later in November it happens, the more likely it is to not get there, even though it was triggered, because on its way up, that's when Bitcoin and the stocks should be heading down. Does that make sense? So the sooner it can bust above this, in that exact moment, after it busts above here or uses it as support and starts climbing, it has a better chance of hitting that. The later it busts up, the worse its chances are. It technically would have a slightly better than 50-50 shot, but every day later, you're increasing the chance that Bitcoin is taking the next leg down. And that could create a fake out, right? Without that even being the plan on the, a quant whales or whatever, an unplanned fake out. The initiation to the downside is just, it's respecting these origin lines. So that's what it's going to be. Once this is used as resistance, it will come back to this next origin line. That's it. So I showed you sideways movement, how long it can go sideways. It can't go sideways until December 1st. It can't. These are the rules. Trigger for upside move and where it'll go. Trigger for downside move and where it'll go. And that should keep you good to go. Honestly, that's probably about all you need on quant outside of trading 5-minute and 1-minute candles. But if you're trading 30 minutes and 1-hour candles or higher, that's pretty much all you need. Those are all the bumpers in play right now and all the trigger points, which will create volatility spikes in either direction. And those will be the bumpers. The origin line down here And having used this as support, volatility will expand once those trigger points are hit, and that's it.